Hey everyone, Keenan Great here from DyeStat.com, bringing you another edition of DyeStat Discussions. The NXR season is in full swing. We had the Heartland just this last weekend, and now we have two more this weekend, including the NXR Midwest Region from Laverne Gibson Championship Cross Country Course this Sunday. And one of the top athletes to watch for on that course will be TJ Hansen out of Freeland High School in Freeland, Michigan. Of course, has had such a phenomenal career in the state of Michigan, is trying to make one last impression in the Midwest region and try to qualify for Nike Cross Nationals. TJ, appreciate your time hopping on here. Give us your take of just, going to Laverne. You were already there this season after Nike XC Town Twilight. Like, what's the feelings going into this weekend?
I'm looking forward to it. Laverne's a tough course, but it definitely always races fast just under the circumstances. And NXR is always a really tough race. In my opinion, NXR is harder than NXN. Just getting there is the toughest part. So I'm really looking forward to it, mixing it with the competition by the other states and what other guys are racing. It should match up to be a great race.
Last year's was such a good race. I mean, I think if I count correctly, like five guys were right there when they made that turn going into that home straightaway. I mean, take me through that stretch last year. I know Cameron Todd eventually came out on top, but like it was so many. I think probably changes within that last 400 meters or so.
Yeah, it was definitely a crazy spot to be in. A lot of people didn't even expect me to finish top 10 at NXR, let alone go on and qualify and make top 10 at NXN. So I was just happy to be in that mix, and I knew just what I needed to do, kept pressing, and obviously, five wide with 400 to go. It's a pretty wild spot to be in that situation.
For sure, yeah. I mean, you look at the guys that were in that race, like a Will Conley, like a Cameron Todd. Like Cameron qualified for two races last year for whether it was Nike Cross Nationals and Foot Locker. I mean, like how good was the Midwest last year? I mean, there was a lot of guys that did go on to graduate though.
Yeah, I mean, the Midwest is always going to be good. It always brings in top talent, and a lot of us just fly under the radar because we're just not those big names. We don't really travel a lot like West Coast and get those big meets and everything. We're kind of just nose to the grind, country kids that like to get to work. And we race on tough courses out here. So it's always going to be a great race. There's always great guys in the Midwest. So it's definitely not a region to look down upon.
Well, I like to think that, the Midwest has had some pretty good guys throughout the years. Hunter Jones, Cameron Todd,
Yep.
yourself. I mean, the list goes on. Even like you throw Grant Fisher into the mix as well. Like, especially being from the state of Michigan, I got to ask you, like, what to see what Grant Fisher did this year. I mean, that was a phenomenal thing when he was, bronze in both the 5,000 and the 10,000. Like, how inspiring was that for you to watch that?
I think as an American, it just inspired everybody, but definitely being from the same state and looking at comparing my times this year to what he ran his senior year, and looking at even on some courses like our state meet I've run faster on, it's definitely a good motivational factor moving forward to know that it's possible to achieve those goals and those Olympic dreams.
Yeah. And you've definitely had a great career in the state of Michigan. I mean, I'm looking at this year. You got one loss on your resume. You had one loss on your resume last year. How have you been able to dominate the state of Michigan so much? And what do you credit that to?
I'd say my training, my coach Kaiser, he's tuned me up really well. We work on a lot of different things. I feel like I'm very prepared for honestly every meet that can get thrown at me, whether it's a situation like NXR where we're five wide with 400 meters to go, or if I have a 100-meter lead on the field, or even like NXN last year where it was completely a mud fest and it's just all packed up. I feel like any race I go in, I'm prepared for.
So tell me, like, how much did you feel like you took away from Nike Cross Nationals last year? Because again, like as you mentioned, probably not a lot of people thought you'd be in that top 10 position, let alone maybe be all American position. I mean, you shocked a lot of people at Nike Cross Nationals, but maybe you didn't shock yourself.
I feel like I did shock myself. I knew I was up there with those guys compared to how I've been performing that year, but it was NXN was just such a unique race for me. It's one I've never been in before. I mean, starting off, I started in the back row for the first time, in the starting boxes behind people because we can only fit three wide, and I got fourth at my region. So it was the first time I ever started behind anybody. then being in like 80th place at the 1K is just a position I've never been in before. So I just worked my way up. I knew what I could do. I definitely shocked myself though at the end of the day. Top 10 was pretty crazy.
And again, though, like, I mean, I think of a guy like, Manny Putz. He fell down at the beginning of the race and managed to finish fifth overall. I mean, because of the conditions last year, and maybe it's just because it was your inexperience of racing there. Like, do you feel like it was smart how you ran that race, even though you were at 80th place after the first kilometer?
Yeah, I knew I wasn't out of it, even though I was in 80th place. I had him in my sights, and I was probably only 5 seconds back at the 1K. So I just slowly kept moving up and got to a point where I knew, like, hey, I'm right here. I'm up with the front pack. Then 1K to go was just give everything because you knew it was there.
Yeah. Do for you moving forward. I got to feel like that was a huge motivating factor, whether it was going into indoor and outdoor season.
Yeah, just having to back it up can't show that it's just a one time thing or it was a fluke race. Got lucky, but that's kind of been a motivational factor this year is to back everything up I did last year and prove that I really am one of the top guys in the country.
And rightfully so. I mean, you've been consistently in the DyeStat cross country rankings all season long, and other than the one loss that you had at Nike XC Town Twilight, you've completely dominated this season. Like, was it? Are you on a mission this season? Like, is that a rightful question to ask? Like, this guy
Yeah,
is really wanting to prove something.
yeah, no, I for sure am on a mission this year.
Yeah. And what exactly is that mission it entail? Tell us a little bit more about that.
I mean, I want to be a national champ. That's kind of plain and simple. I took one loss at Twilight, and I in the interviews I said I wasn't going to lose another race all season, and I plan on keeping that promise.
Yeah. And it starts on Sunday with a really, really tough region. Guys like Landon Kimmel, who just had a phenomenal race at the Ohio State Championships, kind of like yourself. It's like trying to make a name for themselves. Not a lot of people probably knew who he was. But then you throw someone like in Sam Quagliaroli, who's made a household name for himself in the state of Indiana. When you see this year's field, what do you like about it? What do you feel like is going to test you? And if everything goes well, this could be a really good team that goes to Nike Cross Nationals as the Midwest individuals.
Yeah, like I said earlier, us Midwest guys, I mean, we race tough courses, we tough conditions. We don't, road race or we don't have these pancake flat courses. Sam going out and breaking his state meet record on Laverne, MIS, my state meet, it's a tough course, especially this time of year we start getting bad weather, snow even. We're tough kids. We like to race and we can race under any conditions. So no matter what, Sunday's gonna be a great race.
One last time you're going to be racing on Laverne, at least as a high school athlete. I know the NCAA championships are going to return to Laverne Gibson here in the near future, but what are the memories you have of racing at this course in particular?
I've only raced here twice in high school, last year at NXR, then Twilight. It's always a challenge, and that's what I love about it. It's a challenging course, and everyone's always runs great at it. Everyone always pushes. So that's probably my favorite memory about it is just being surrounded and being pushed to my limit.
Yeah. So let's go into a little bit more of a detail about last year's race. Take me through the race mile by mile. Like, how did it start off for you?
I started off pretty far back. I was maybe 40th at the 1K. I got out pretty conservative, still kept the front pack on my sights, then moved up quite a bit. Usually NXR will always go out fast. Everyone's trying to make that team. Everyone's always amped up. So it always goes out fast, but I stayed under control, didn't let the pressure get to me. Then by 3K, I was up in fifth place, up where I needed to be in position. Then just kind of there, I fell back a little bit with maybe 1K to go. Then I slowly worked back up, got to that point where 400 to go, we're five wide, and just at that point, it's a grind home.
Yeah. Especially after that first mile because it's just so fast. And I think if I remember correctly at Nike XC Town Twilight, I think it was like what 4:30 something for the first mile you guys went.
This was like
Something
4:30.
very, very
Yeah.
yeah, something very, very fast. I mean, is that kind of the approach you have to go with? I mean, I know you finished second, but like, I mean, that seems like a very, very intense first mile to get things going on that course.
Yeah, it always goes out that fast. I mean, 4:35 might even be the bare minimum for what we see the lead pack go through on Sunday. It's that fast. Everyone's amped up. It's just what happens at Laverne.
Yeah. No, let's go back to Nike XC Town Twilight. I mean, you got to give credit to Jake Bowen. Had such a phenomenal, or Jack Bowen had a great race at the end. And it seemed like it was just a back and forth battle with all you guys. But how many races have you done that have been under the lights? Because I think that's probably like the most fun part about that race.
Usually only one a year. And Michigan, that's kind of the starter meet in August. Everyone does an under the lights to get their season started. But I really liked under the lights at Laverne. It was definitely a unique race for sure.
Well, I feel like you, I mean, I know you didn't come out with the win, but did you get a pretty good sense of the performance out of that race? I mean, it was a great time, 14:43. I know just a couple seconds shy, but like, did you feel good about just the race despite not getting the win?
Yeah, despite not getting the win, I felt like I was at a really good spot in my training to go 14:43 off of kind of heavy legs at that point in my season compared to last year where I was running completely fresh and went 14:50. So I just knew I was in a great spot. I had some tactical errors in the race, but I knew I closed really well over that last 800. And yeah, so it put me in a good spot moving forward in training.
So I guess then what did that do for you moving forward? I mean, then you go on to win five more races after that and of course go win your last ever Michigan State Championship.
Yeah, it was good. State meet was a little rough. Had some things go on before that kind of threw me off a little bit, but training's been really solid. Been feeling really good and feeling really tuned up for this week.
And looking ahead, you're going to the University of Colorado in the next fall. And initially, you were going to go to the University of Tennessee until Sean Carlson decided that he was going to be going to Colorado to be the next director of cross country and track and field there after uh, their coaching absence happened. How tough was that decision, really? I mean, I know probably it's a little further from home, and Tennessee's a great program, but like it's really hard to turn down Boulder.
Yeah, it was. I'd say for the first 3 days, it was really stressful. I wasn't even home. I was in Arizona at the time when I heard all the news. So, I mean, all of us recruits were going kind of a million miles an hour, just trying to figure out what to do. But then once it kind of settled over, Boulder became the obvious choice at the end of the day. It really just made the most sense.
And this class that he's bringing in too. I mean, we're talking like Trey Caldwell, yourself. I'm blanking on someone's name as well. You could remind me who it is, but I mean, it's a very very good class and a class that, in my opinion, a little bit underrated. Do you guys feel like there's a sense of maybe between you guys there's like a little bit of disrespect that not you so get the attention that you deserve? Because I think when it's all said and done, this group of guys can do some big things at the NCAA level.
Yeah, we know we're gonna do big things. Me, Keegan Smith, Jack Graffeo, Trey, we're all really kind of firing right now. Keegan's coming off his state title. I just won mine. Jack has his state meet next week. And I believe Trey runs on the 30th. So we're all looking really good right now. We're all feeling good going into postseason.
Yeah, lots of big names right there, especially Keegan Smith, who's always probably been a household name since he was a freshman in high school. So throughout your entire career at Freeland, like what's kind of like the biggest takeaway that you've had as a student athlete, dating back to your freshman year and kind of just seeing the growth that you've had these last 4 years.
Probably my impact on others, how people I can influence others, being just a captain and being that leader, especially from a small town like I'm from. I go to a school with maybe 500 kids in it. Not really, not really big town. Not huge athletics program. I mean, we're good, but definitely trying to put our city out there.
So what is that? What's the motivating factor to do that? Knowing that, again, you like you said, you come from a small town. Not a lot of people like probably know where Freeland, Michigan is. I mean, heck, how far is it from Detroit?
Like 2.5 hours maybe.
Okay, so again, like people know Detroit, people don't know Freeland. What's the community like, and what was it like just growing up there?
I actually didn't grow up there. I moved here when I was in sixth grade. I lived even further up north in Michigan for the first 11 years of my life. But it's kind of that Midwest small town feel. A lot of people, like everyone knows everybody. It's a very close community, but just mostly doing it for the younger generations out there to so they can realize that it's possible to be successful even if you are from a small town like we're from.
Yeah, and I grew up in a small town too, and I think it's regardless of where you grew up or what high school you go to. I think at the end of the day, it's really the coaching that makes the difference. How impactful has your coach been these last 4 years? And the results show based on how you've ran, especially these last 2 years.
Yeah, well, my coach came in after my sophomore year, so he's been with me my junior and senior year. First 2 years we were a struggle, wasn't really allowed to shine at the potential or the level I knew I was at. But Coach Kaiser came in, gave me proper training, let me kind of go out and show everyone the potential I had. And as we've seen the last year and a half since he's came in, I've done just that.
When did you realize that potential?
I mean, I've had it in me for a while, maybe since middle school, but like I said, those first 2 years were just a real struggle for me. Injured a lot, kind of was held back, but Coach Kaiser just allowed me to get in, train properly, race to the level he knew I had in me.
Has running always been a passion of yours, or is there particular other sports that you've been involved with?
I've been involved in a lot of sports growing up. I've been running since I was 5 years old, but I mean, just like about every kid, I played soccer growing up, baseball for a little bit. But I mean, stopped baseball when I was 7, stopped soccer maybe in fifth grade just because I wanted to run full time.
Is there an influence from that? Were your parents both runners?
My dad was a javelin thrower in college, and my mom ran the 400. So I don't really know how distance runner came out, but both of my older sisters did cross country and track, so probably got it. A little influence from them to want to do it.
Okay, I gotta ask them, like, were your parents battling back and forth? It's like, all right, no, he's gonna be a thrower. No, he's gonna be a sprinter. He's gonna be a
No,
distance runner at the end of the day.
no, it was weird because both my sisters were distance runners too. So I mean, they're both track coaches, but I mean, it's just kind of weird how all three of us, at least growing up, got into distance running. My oldest sister, she throws the javelin right now at a D2 school in Michigan, and my other older sister, she runs Division 1 at Eastern Michigan. So it's just runs in the family.
No pun intended either.
Yeah.
When you see your like watching your sisters do their thing growing up, like I mean, how much of a motivating factor were they to kind of like push you to kind of be where you're at right now?
Well, we more or less pushed each other growing up. We were basically our biggest rivals when we were really young. So, I mean, workouts or anything, we were always basically racing each other, pushing each other every rep at every workout.
I can definitely sense I know you're a competitive person. I can just sense it. Like you want to beat your sisters. It actually doesn't even matter who it is. It could be a 5-year-old girl. You could be like, no, I still want to beat them. I don't even care if they cross the finish line first. So, but that's what we love about competitors. Regardless of who is on the line, you want to be the best person that day. So I mean, NXR Midwest. I mean, I know the goal is just to get to NXN again, be one of those top 5 individuals. But you want to win this thing. Like you want to be able to put a stamp on your resume and get the job done at the Midwest. Like what would a win do for you, moving forward, even though Nike Cross Nationals is the big picture?
I mean, it's just going to set me up really well for NXN in the future. I'm at the point right now where any race I toe the line, I expect to win, and that's the expectation going forward. So I want to win. That's kind of plain and simple.
How do you think you get the job done? Because those guys, and that, like I mentioned them earlier, and even throw in a couple guys from Illinois, like it's gonna be a dogfight, and they're not going to give it to you easily.
No, it'll never be easy. I know that going forward, but it's I'm not gonna kind of tell my strategy out loud, obviously, but just gonna kind of play the race out, see how the strategy goes out the field, and kind of move forward throughout the race.
With a national championship being a motivating factor, is that something written on a piece of paper, or is that something you wake up to every day? It's like, I'm gonna be a national champion. Like, that's my goal.
I don't really need to see it. It's just something that's in my mind every second of every day. I can't really go an hour without thinking about NXR, NXN. It's just since I started training for cross country this summer, it's just that's been all I've been thinking about.
Guy that's really dedicated to the sport, a guy that's really hungry for success this year, TJ Hansen. Again, of course, really appreciate your time hopping on here. NXR Midwest is this Sunday from the Laverne Gibson Championship Cross Country Course. You can catch all the action on runnerspace.com. Best of luck on Sunday, TJ. We hope to see you back up in Portland for Nike Cross Nationals this year.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for having me on.